Welcome, investigator. Evil is on the rise. Crime is escalating. Our mission is to eliminate the crime by exposing evil, examine why it manifests, and highlight the brave souls that confront it every day. Join us as we work together to bring justice to every victim. Welcome to All Things Crime. Here's your host, Jared Bradley.
Imagine being in a village where they have no running water, they have no electricity. The only electricity is provided by generators, and they have to bring the gas for those generators on these little boats 3 hours up a river in order to get there. Okay, so they're typically farmers, just making a living off of growing bananas and things like that. Okay, these people have basically nothing. Some of these immigrants that we saw coming out of the jungle, they get there, and we actually heard a conversation where there were some of them, a group of them, and I'm not exactly sure where they were from, but speaking Spanish, they were complaining to the village mayor about their living conditions. They were provided a tent and some food, and they were complaining that their living conditions weren't good enough. Okay, they weren't invited. They were there, they basically just forced themselves on this little village. This little village doesn't have anything themselves, let alone anything to provide, these massive amounts of, and it's like hundreds. At that point, it was only just hundreds a day coming out of there. I can't imagine what it's like now. But the whole reason I'm bringing this up is because that's the mentality that these people had at this little village in Panama, who had nothing, and they still were complaining to them about their living conditions. They wanted to be provided more from these people that already had nothing. And it was very, very obvious that these people had nothing. Now, imagine these same folks, they come to your house. What do you think their mentality is going to be?
Yep.
And
people don't even have to take our word for it. There's body cam. When law enforcement goes and gets Jose Ibarra and his two brothers and the other roommate out of the apartment, and they're speaking to each other in Spanish, not thinking anybody can understand them. And he has to know why they're there, because he knows he just murdered somebody.
Yeah.
And he's laughing. He's laughing. And they're saying, this is a ridiculous response. Why are there so many cops? They look so stupid. So again, they don't have to take our word for it. They can go watch what absolutely happened.
Yeah.
So
what, with all the, obviously he had tons of evidence on his body because Laken beat the crap out of him, which is a beautiful thing. How did the police actually track him down?
It was so beautiful. So one of the officers that got to work at Clark County that evening found out that a University of Georgia student had been killed, and he used to work for them. He knew the area, and he said, look, I'm going to go to those apartment complex, and I'm just going to look in the dumpsters. And immediately he finds the jacket. So that was fantastic. So now you have a direction of travel of this killer. And it's literally in the parking lot of an apartment complex. So you're real close. And then you've got somebody that's got a Ring camera. They go and say, hey, can we look at your Ring camera from this time to this time? They see him putting it in the dumpster. Well, then they go to another neighbor. Do you know this person? Yeah, he lives up there. I mean, it was a pretty short walk. It was beautifully done. I mean, unbelievable. But they had, digital. They had, physical evidence, because his DNA and her DNA were together on the jacket. His DNA and her DNA were on the gloves. His DNA was under her right fingernail. So between the physical evidence and the video evidence and the digital evidence from her cell phone, his fingerprint was on her cell phone. So when she tried to dial 911 and he snatched it and hung it up, I mean, it was overwhelming, the evidence that they had. I mean, they literally had everything except a video of the murder. They had him stalking the apartment, walking back and forth toward the trail, and then you see him just go down the trail and he never comes back. You see Laken running, and she takes a left back down into the trail, and she never emerges again. And then you see him up in the top of the frame walking straight toward the dumpster. So they had him literally within minutes. And the only thing he could have been doing is killing her. And then they had him talking to his wife on the jail phone. And a lot of people were, pitched a fit saying, he's married, that's privileged. You do have a marital privilege, except when it comes to a jail telephone. You lose your privilege because they tell you all of them are going to be recorded. So there's no expectation of privacy and there's no privilege. And she's saying to him, what happened with that girl? And he said, look, I saw her laying there dead, but I didn't do it. So he put himself there and said he saw her, but he didn't do it. So again, anytime I think you've got a potential killer that will put himself at the crime scene and they fail to render aid, they fail to call 911, they fail to run home and tell people, chances are they were part of it. I mean, it's like Delphi. Richard Allen put himself on the bridge at the exact same time, said he saw them, said he followed them. I believe him.
Still, what a piece of garbage. I mean, the guy's married, and he's still out trying to find young girls to rape. And
he's a father. He's a father. I mean, but again, he doesn't care anything about his wife either, because when he left New York for the humanitarian flight, he left her and that child behind. He wasn't there trying to make a living for them, trying to help her life, be easier.
Oh, she wasn't in Georgia with him.
Nope.
Oh, okay.
No, she stayed in New York. The child's not here.
This just keeps getting better. Yeah, they're sure letting just wonderful people into the country, aren't they?
I think we do have to take measures to protect our citizens. We do. I'm all for people coming here. I'm all for anybody that wants to come here. Absolutely. But do it legally.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't think that's difficult. There is no other country that you could go to and expect to be given an apartment. Just, you don't have to worry about a visa. We're going to let you stay. We're going to help you get an education. We're going to help you do all these things. Where? I mean, even Canada right now is saying no. For the next 3 years, that's it. Nobody's coming here.
Yeah.
You have to at some point say, wait a minute. If it is not legal, that makes them a criminal. And if they won't come here the right way, why do you think they're going to do the right thing when they're here?
No, again, back to what you were talking about earlier, the people that are saying, well, illegals commit less crime than, the average, whatever, or less crimes than Americans do. Like, does that include the fact that they're here illegally? I mean, every single one of them.
Yep.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what you think it is. It's still a law. And coming into this country uninvited is a crime, period.
To come here illegally should not be rewarded either. It should be more difficult to get a place to stay, more difficult to get any kind of financial aid. Not easier.
Oh, yeah. No, it's such a mess. I just pray that the next administration that comes in is able to, straighten things out. But it's going to take a long time. And the thing that bothers me the most about it are there are going to be lots of Laken Rileys. There's going to be a lot more people just like Laken and Rachel Morin and all these other victims that you've heard about, where these illegal aliens, especially the violent offenders that were violent before they came here, are going to continue doing it. Especially once they know it's cracking down, they got nothing to lose. And so it's like a cornered rat. They're going to become more violent. They're going to become more desperate, and they don't care. They really don't care. And I think that at most or at worst, I think a lot of them just think, well, what are they going to do? They're just going to deport me. And then I'm just going to turn around. I've come back multiple times anyway, so who cares? So hopefully they do something different. I think they ought to be taking DNA from each one of them, taking photographs of each one of them, taking fingerprints of every one of them. Then they get on a plane and you send them home. And I will gladly say, yep, let's arrange the flights. We'll pay for all these flights heading home. But just get them out of here. I mean, that's just me.
Well, they're going to have to do some things. There's no doubt about it. They just are. And I think, again, if you are a landlord in one of these apartment complexes, you have a responsibility to keep an eye on things. I think if you are somebody that is hiring a lot of these folks, you have a responsibility to keep an eye on things. There should not be just, oh, we have no idea where they are. That can't be true. They are living somewhere. They are eating somewhere. You have given them money. You've given them, cards to get things that they need. Where's that card hidden? I mean, I can look at my debit card and find out where I spent money. I mean, it's not hard to know where they are. It's not. And it's everybody's job. It is. It's everybody's job.
Oh, yeah. The local cops, they know where these people are. I mean, it is not hard to figure out where the people. Yep, they absolutely know where they are. So it's we've kind of gone sideways on a couple of things, but the sheer fact that Laken, I didn't know that, and I think it's partly because of the news media didn't want to really cover it, that Laken beat the crap out of this dude, and I love it. You know what?
I do too.
I mean, I think personally, every single woman that ever finds herself in a bad position, you need to start fighting like you have literally your life depends on it. Is that the recommendation that you give to everybody?
It's the recommendation. Your life does depend on it. Absolutely. And here's the thing, Jared. Are bad things going to happen? Yes. I don't know why this happened to her. I don't. It's never going to be okay. It's never going to be something that anybody looks at and goes, well, it happened. That's not the case here. But I do know what's going to happen because of what happened to her. And some of it's already happened. There's already been directives to your local police department saying, hey, you're going to be able to ask people for their ID just because. Well, that basically is turning every single police officer into ICE. And if you don't have ID, they can take you to a deportation center. Well, that's already happened. She did that.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of fundraisers and things in her name, scholarships, hopefully to nursing schools. There will be a lot of good that will come out of this.
Yep.
And
her parents already have the Laken Hope Riley Foundation. And I do believe good things are going to come. And I think they're going to be able to pay maybe for some nursing students and other things. One of her roommates is already going on to do some amazing things. And I think that's going to be the case for all three of them. Yeah, so it won't be in vain. That I know. It won't be.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll never be right, but it can be as close as possible.
That's right.
And, thank God for wonderful, wonderful young women like Laken that,
Amen.
Can be such a bright light, even though it was short. It was only 22 years that till her life was snuffed out. But honestly, I think Laken Riley was a big reason that the election results came out the way it did. There's a lot of people of all races and just everybody is just tired of it. You're just you can't see the things that are happening on the border, and especially when you talk about inner city folks that they get their schools and their playgrounds shut down for, setting up tents for all these illegal folks. And you're just like, wait a minute, we pay taxes. We have, that's where my kid plays. I live in the city. I don't have a lot of options as to where my kids can play. They want to go play baseball. They have the street and they have, this one park. And if you've taken that park away from us, that's just not right. And so there's a lot of things that I think it's brought up, opened up a lot of people's eyes. And then, you add on to the absolute horror of what happened to Laken onto that. And not only does it, wake up some really sleeping people like some college students. I'll bet people that are jogging that trail nowadays have a lot more awareness.
I'll tell you this. I am not a political person. I've never championed for anybody in an office, but I will tell you this. It was loud and clear in Clark County because the DA that originally had this case that said no to the death penalty lost her election. So to your point, people are answering the call. And I think when the president-elect knows your name, which he knows who Laken, she was, he knows what happened to her, the tide is turning. And this to me is not political. This is, how do you protect your house? That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, that has to be, and every country, honestly, I've traveled all over the world. Every single country that I visit, I look at those people and I say, you should be, whatever country I'm in, I say, you should be your country first. Just like as an American, we should be America first. And, nobody of the people that I've visited in Vietnam or Thailand or China or the UK, none of them are looking at the United States and saying, I wonder how I can help the United States.
No.
And frankly, that's the way it should be. And so until we are 100% taken care of our citizens, we have to look inward and we have to say, okay, number one, we have to protect our citizens. That is the number one job of every government, which is why a police force exists on every single level. And if we're not protecting our citizens, then that has to change first. And I think as long as there's going to be victims like Laken, then there should be no other priority. I mean, that is the number one priority in my mind.
You got to protect your house, period.
Yeah. Well, any last thoughts on again, how that first day went?
The first day, it was pretty powerful for me. I mean, Sheila Ross is a friend. So watching her in action, I felt more than confident. In some way, it was almost comforting to know that Sheila was heading this thing. If you got a chance to watch any of it, you saw her, you know what I'm talking about. She's smart, she's capable, but she works from her heart. And this was not a case that she was going to let slide in any way. When he elected to not have a jury and have a bench trial, if you watched Sheila Ross, you didn't know there wasn't a jury there. She played it the way she would have played it if she was talking to 12 strangers as opposed to one judge. He knew the law. He knew, what was going on and how evidence should be presented. She still did it in a way that made that courtroom understand who Laken Riley was, what her life was at the time she was killed, and what her life was supposed to be. And I think that was something that was really critical for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely powerful. I mean, she's give her my regards next time you see her, because
I'll do it. Absolutely.
She was masterful in that. Why do you think that he, I mean, he's such a scumbag. I can't believe he didn't try to stretch things out as much as he can.
I think that he was given some advice about appeals, and that's why he elected to do it the way that he did it. But I don't know that that's the right thing. I mean, this is not a case where anybody, and I mean, I've got some friends that are defense attorneys that will look for any reason to say that something wasn't done correctly. That's not the case here. It's just not. There's no other person. There's no other suspect. There's no shot that it was anybody else. Everybody sees this the same way.
Well, and I think the absolute horror of it, the magnitude of the viciousness of it.
When you put up her watch and it shows that her heart rate spiked when he first attacked her and she knew the danger and the fear, and then it goes for 18 minutes and then it goes flatline. Anybody that was a daughter, a sister, a mama, a daddy, I mean, there's no way you could watch that. And then, as gut-wrenching as it was, I think one of the most powerful things Sheila did, she showed 1 minute of when the parents were basically given the death notification. Just 1 minute. Jared, you know it's bad. You know it's horrible. But to watch it, and there's her stepfather and her mama and her sister, and they're just falling on the ground.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
I mean, that's what he did. And for what? For what? For nothing. For nothing.
Well, like you said, he's just a weak, pathetic, just absolute coward.
He is.
Who was just trying to satisfy himself, basically, and saw somebody that he thought would be an easy target, attacked her, and once he realized he was probably pretty exhausted too, getting his butt kicked by this young girl that was just fighting for her life and for her integrity and for her virtue, and she was a soldier in Christ at that moment. And I think once he realized that this girl is not going to let me do what I want to do, that's when he basically decided he had to kill her. Yeah. And that's a different depth of evil, once he reached that level.
That's right.
So, especially to bludgeon her with a rock like that, the damage, just.
Yep. I think I'm one of the only mamas in the world that never told their children monsters don't exist, because I knew that wasn't true. But I did tell them that there are heroes all over, and she's one.
Yeah. Well, like I said, fighting for what's right is always worth it. And Laken, man, God rest her soul, she fought to the end for all the things that are good in life. Her virtue, her integrity, her future husband. I bet she had all that in mind. And I'll bet you she probably had talked to somebody like you, maybe her mom or something, and said, if I ever get in this position, I'm going to fight like hell. That guy, there's no way he is going to just have his way with me.
That's right.
So good for her.
And what she did made sure that this person was off the street. So she saved how many other people?
Yeah.
So she did that too.
Yeah, well, it's also a warning, hopefully, for all these other Venezuelan gang scumbags that. Yeah, you hurt an American citizen, we are going to hurt you back. So it's coming. It is coming. All right, Sheryl, what? Sure appreciate you.
Thanks for joining us. Your attention today brings us one step closer to exposing and eliminating the evil that brings crime to our communities. Hit subscribe and share this episode. Together, we will bring justice to every victim.